Welcome to Veranda CA. So next, the topic for discussion under strategic management is dynamics of competitive strategy. So here in this part 1, let's get into the introduction of dynamics of competitive strategy and some of the strategies, competitive strategies that we would be seeing. First of all, dynamics. What is dynamics and how relevant is it with regard to competitiveness? Dynamics is basically referred as the force that could bring about a change or it could bring about growth. So that force that is required, and anybody in a business to be successful, there is competition. Competition is a must, is playing a must role in any business. So the more you compete, imagine a business with no competitors. You're the only person, you're the only monopoly exists. There will not be any improvement being done to the products. There will not be any requirement to listen to the needs of the customers because they know there is no competition. Ultimately, consumers will buy your product only. So, more competitors in any business will definitely take the business to a very new level in terms of growth, profit, survival, reputation, goodwill, and so on. So, we are going to see the various dynamics or competitive dynamics that the business are facing or the business have adopted in this modern world. First of all, before we get on to see what is competitive dynamics, let's start from the basic terminology. Who are competitors or what is all about competitors? We know he competes with me. Maybe he is in your same business or he is in the same industry or he is in offering the same products or taking the same, providing the same services to the consumers in a similar society, facing similar customers. So many things are almost the same with you and your competitor. Then he is definitely your rival party. So competitors, the firms which operate in the same market, offering similar products and targeting the similar kind of customers are referred as competitors. Competitive rivalry. So that force, that rival that exists between these competitors or among the competitors is referred as competitive rivalry. So what if I do? The competitor will face a tough position, or what if the competitor does, will I be facing a tough position? So what is my action or reaction to such competition? So ongoing actions and responses taking place between all the firms competing within a market for a better advantageous position. I need to be better than him. So only when there is competition, we all know that we do well. Basically studying for our own self, when there is a competition, we study better. So even in business, though it is not much actually required when it comes to studies, it is very much required when it comes to business. So only when the other party does well, you also improve your own line of services or products or the quality, cost efficiency, and offer better products to the mass public. That's competitive rivalry. Next, a better term, competitive advantage. So I have a better advantage. I gain a better, I'm in a better position than him. That edge over others we refer as competitive advantage. My competitive advantage is cheaper products, very cost efficient products. So that's competitive advantage. So this comes from a firm's ability to perform the activities more efficiently than its rivals. Maybe I have been in the field for many years, so I have got a lot of experience and my cost is reduced. I know I have technical expertise, financially sound. So cost being reduced is a competitive advantage. Or I offer different products, a unique product, that could be a competitive advantage for a company. So that edge over the others is referred as competitive advantage. And to all these action, competitive behavior is referred as. So there is the competitors are there is rivalry among all the competitors. One is doing well than the other due to their competitive advantage. So all a set of competitive actions and competitive responses together is what we refer as competitive behavior. So he has acted that way and what has been my response to this. So that action and response together we refer as competitive behavior. That behavior that the firm takes in order to build or defend its competitive advantageous position and to improve its market position. So, the action plus response is what we refer as competitive behavior, and going back to the term competitive dynamics is the total set of actions and corresponding competitive response is what we see as competitive dynamics. So the competitive dynamics is the total set of actions and responses of all the firms which are competing in the same market. So I cannot compare a textile industry with a food industry. So in the same market, what has been his action and what has been the rival party's behavior, response or reaction to it is what we refer as competitive dynamics. And from the picture it is very clear from what we have seen who are competitors and what is competitive dynamics. Competitors, they engage in competitive rivalry. Why do they do so? In order to gain a better competitive advantageous position, and this is their action and responses that we refer as competitive behavior, and of all the firms put together we refer as dynamics, competitive dynamics, or that is referred as a set of that force which is paving way for a huge growth or survival. Now, the major topic, competitive strategy. So, in order to be apart from the others in your same industry or in the same market, what is that strategy that you have adopted? It could be in comparison of, so therefore, when we assess this when we frame this competitive strategy, I cannot just be restricted to know only about my company. I need to definitely know what is his action, what is my competitor's action, what has been his goal, what is his vision. So everything we need to study about the competitor too. So competitive strategies are those strategies that strongly position the company against competitor and give the company a strongest possible strategic advantage. So competitors are understood, competitive behavior is all fine, but that competitive strategy is what I have implemented or I have taken in order to retain or gain a better competitive position. Is it required? Can I just not look into my own business? Why should I be bothered about my competitor's strategy or his vision, mission, goals, strength, weakness? We need to know because it builds profitable customer relationship. Your customers are ready to be taken away by your competitors, and this only by knowing this you will be able to build up a competitive advantage. So analyze their competitors, analyzing the competitors, knowing what are their plus and minus is very important are the very important benefits which we can achieve through developing a competitive strategy. The objective here being you need a competitive advantage. As I said, advantage is the edge over the others in the industry. You need this. Without that, you cannot survive in the market. In order to generate this competitive advantage, you have to frame a competitive strategy. What do I get by framing this? What do I get by framing a competitive advantage? My market share increases. My position in the market is better now. I'm competing with much of higher firms or well-known firms in the industry, and I'm able to survive the competition. I'm able to win this battle. So beat the competition. So without competition, we cannot actually grow, and in order to beat the competition, we need to frame a better competitive strategy. So this being the objective of a competitive strategy, and through this competitive strategy, as we said, the firm is able to attract its customers, get the customers towards them. Also, in terms of heavy competition, ups and downs, it is able to face the situation, withstand the pressure, and strengthen its position in the market. Whatever happened, whatever may be lost, I am good in my market. My business has totally not fallen. So this is possible only if you develop a better, good competitive strategy. So competitive strategy is inevitable. No business, profit-making business especially, cannot we cannot easily do away without framing a competitive strategy. So today we are going to see the various competitive strategies we refer as the dynamics of competitive strategies. So let's see them. This is given as a glance and let's see them one by one. The first one being competitive landscape. Landscape is generally referred to some place, right? So landscape is a place, but what is competitive landscape? It is that place where you are identifying who your competitors are. If you decide who your competitors are, you are much known to this business, you are much known to the customers. So it is a business analysis which identifies the competitors. My competitor may be directly seen sometimes. Most of the times the competitors are directly seen, and some of the times it could be indirect, where you don't know he is being actually competing with you. So indirect competitors may be there and also direct. So it is about identifying and understanding the competitors. So I have identified him. This is my field, this is my business, and I have understood he is my competitor. So it's about identifying and understanding the competitors. What in terms of understanding? Not the name, not the business, not just the vision, also their weakness, their strength. What are the weakness and strength your competitor is facing? So knowing, identifying, next step understanding in terms of strength, weakness, vision and mission. And after knowing exactly about your competitors, the next step is to implement or choose and implement an effective strategy that will improve the competitive advantage you have seen for your company. So landscape, this competitive landscape is nothing but identifying your competitors. Identifying is just not restricted to or just not stops with identifying. You need to understand them in terms of strength, weakness, and then frame a better strategy, formulate or implement a better effective strategy that is going to give your competitive advantage, that is going to strengthen your competitive advantage. So to do this, to understand, to identify and to frame a strategy, what you require is competitive intelligence. Yeah, so competitive intelligence in terms of what strategy to follow, how do I follow is all what is required for this competitive landscape. But how do I do? What are the steps to understand and identify this competitive landscape? As we all know, first find out who the competitors are. Identify the competitors. Understand the competitors. What are the various products he serves? Is he serving only the product mentioned, or is he doing any after sales service, or is there any service element in addition to the product that is being served? Who, what, after that we need to know we need to get an in-depth knowledge as to their strength, their weakness. They may be financially good, they may be much experienced, good manpower. So their strength needs to be analyzed. Also, they are also prone to many weaknesses. So determine their weaknesses. What is weakness? Where are they lacking? Finance may be their strength, but then they don't have they don't have the latest version. They may not be, the products may not be very cheaper, or they don't offer any different products. They offer the same set of products. So uniqueness, differentiators, they are not differentiators. So there could be some weakness which every firm definitely is. So therefore, identifying the strength and weakness is an important step. Now all the information has been collected, including vision, mission of such organization or of such competitors. Now put them all together. Put all such information together. Now now what we need to do is evaluate or first frame a strategy, then implement it and evaluate it to find out whether I am able to exploit their weakness, whether my strength or whether I am using this opportunity of his weakness, whether I am using this opportunity as a way to grow my business. So that's the steps to be taken for competitive landscape, to understand the competitive landscape. Yes, the first dynamic strategy having seen. Next we move on to see what is strategic analysis. Strategy has been framed, strategy has been formulated, implemented, but as we say, strategy is not a job, it is not a task, it is a judgment. When I say it is a judgment, it cannot be only based on intuition or opinions or any such instincts, in fact. Okay, it is a judgment purely based on the manager's experience, understanding of the environment in which he is functioning, the internal, the external, knowing his own capabilities and resources. How much do I have? How much can I extend? How much can I bring in more? How much can I not do anything with it? So knowing my restrictions, limitations, availability of resources and so on, then I make a judgment about the strategies to pursue, which is made through such internal and external analysis. So when we come about with a strategic analysis, the two important factors we have already discussed, the industry and the competitive conditions, and what the industry, if it is a food industry, what is the competitive situation, condition prevalent in such industry? Yes, and my own capabilities, my own resources, my own strength and weakness. In a competitive landscape, we understood the strength, weakness of the competitors. Now in a strategic analysis, we are analyzing and strengthening, we are knowing, we are identifying what is our limitation, what is our strength point and so on. So these are the two important considerations when it comes to strategic analysis. And definitely strategy is a long-term activity or a long-term act. Strategy evolves over a period of time. So I have framed a strategy possibly envisaging all the outcomes that could happen in the future, but then it may be subject to some change. There may be a sudden change in the external environment or in the internal environment which requires my strategy to be again reworked upon. So it may be either a slight modification or it may be an entire deletion and a new strategy may be required to be framed. So managers modify the strategy in response to changing market conditions, advancing technology. So the latest technology has come, they need to frame the strategy accommodating such advancement in the technology too. Fresh moves of the competitors. So the competitor has taken such a move, I cannot be still sitting at the back row. I'll need to frame out some other strategy in order to compete with them. And when there is so many changes, my customer's requirement also undergo a change. So shifting of the buyer's needs, emerging market opportunities. So there is some other opportunity which the company or the organization is facing, and there are always ideas for improving my strategy. So strategy is a long term, strategy is futuristic, it's a long term, and one strategy cannot be working for the entire life of an organization or for not even for quite few years or months. So it is prone for many changes. What is required is at every point of time, when there is such change externally and internally, you need to understand and balance such changes. So balance of the external and internal factors is required to be made when it comes to strategic analysis. We all know what comprises of internal environment and external environment. Internal environment, we generally refer that as the 4 M's like men, machine, money, material. So capital or products or manpower or equipments may undergo changes. Some may become obsolete, it may require upgradation. Huge requirement for funding may be a need. Manpower may be a requirement, shortage of manpower. So internal environment is prone to many changes, but this is still under the control of the organization. If I have funds, I can bring in more machines, I can upgrade it, I can buy more products, I can recruit more people. Or if I need fund itself, I can borrow from externally, I can put in my own resource. So internal environment is definitely within the control of the organization. On the other hand, external environment, which is not under our control. Government changes policies from taxation to many laws, many policies undergo changes. I don't have a control over such changes. Advancement in technology, consumers demand, I cannot rule their demand. Whatever their demand, I can only react to it or make proactive strategies, but then I cannot change their demand. So such external environment is not under my control or not adjustable. So making a proper balance between the internal and external factors is a very important criteria for strategic analysis. So strategic analysis is a long-term process, and it requires to be changed owing to such changes in the internal and external environment. And the third important factor is risk. The risk involved in making a strategic decision. When I say risk of your products not meeting the customer's requirement, it's just not internal, it could be an external risk also. And apart from being internal, external, it is also time bound. Certain risk may be just short term lived and certain risk may be long term. So long term is more dangerous, okay. So we can classify the risk as strategic risk, whether it is internal or external, and compare it with a time bound, compare it with a term basis, whether it is a short term or a long term. When it is short term, internal risk, short term, internal risk. So some elements in your internal control is undergoing a change. So organization is unable to cope up with strategic demands of the employees or so. So short term, it's an internal risk. On the other hand, long term internal risk. Your strategy is inconsistent. The strategy is totally undergoing a lot of changes. So inconsistency with the strategy is developed on account of changes in the internal capacities and preferences. So you totally change the strategy. That's a risk. And it is definitely a long term risk, which is the weightage of the risk is much heavier. Short term, on the other hand, short term external risk. I have envisaged or I have seen the future changes in the environment in this manner, but it has totally gone wrong, a strategic failure. So an error in interpreting the environment in the future is a short term external risk. On the other hand, a long term external risk is the strategy that you have adopted has no value at all. It has totally become obsolete. So the change in the environment is such that your strategy that you have adopted is obsolete now. So risk is also internal and external, and it is also time bound, short term and long term. So strategic analysis is about framing your current strategy based on the internal environment plus analyzing the external environment too. You have framed the goals and objectives for your future organization. Now based on this internal plus external, I have framed the current strategy, and it doesn't just stop with that. Assess the current strategy and environment. When you are assessing, you may be foreseeing many changes that is required. Some other alternate option or alternate strategies may be another choice that could be made. So recommend such alternative action and correct your strategy. As we have seen, strategy is an ongoing process and it requires corrective adjustment as and when required. So strategic analysis is all concerned about this. So the next competitive analysis that we are going to make is industry analysis. When I say industry, the various examples of industry, telecom industry, automobile industry, all the cars, all automobile, telecom, we have Airtel, Idea, Jio. When I say food, when I say textiles. So these are the various clusters, similar business, that's referred as industry. So industry is a group of firms whose products have same and similar attributes such that they compete for the same buyers. So Jio may be fighting with Idea customers. So or Tata and Audi may be fighting for the same set of buyers. So they have a similar set of group as their buyers, and they are fighting, competing with each other in the market. And these collectively and these business together with various brands and ownership is referred as industry. Now, when I say I need to analyze my own strategic decisions, my strategic analysis, it also requires an industry analysis to be made. What are the dominant economic features of an industry? Or I can say key industry traits. The industry is the major feature of an industry is the size of the market or the nature of the market. Food industry is too big. Certain industry is only very few competitors there. Buyers are also less. So how many buyers are there? Their relative size proportion. How many rival companies or how many competitors are there in that particular industry? Their portion of the market share. Market growth rate and position in the business life. Yes, and for this industry, can I easily get into it? The capital requirement, or it requires very huge funding to get into this industry, and the possibility of exit when there is a failure. And the industry profitability is above the average level or below the level. And what is the amount of competitive rivalry existing in this field, whether it may be national, international, local, and so on. So the dominant economic features of an industry, or we refer as the key industry trait, is very important to be analyzed when it comes to industry analysis. And the industry and competitive analysis can be done using a set of concepts and techniques to get a clear picture about this kit, or to know the intensity of competition that is prevalent in this industry, or we refer as drivers of industry change. So to me, there's a change in the industry, and what has caused that change? The drivers, the market positions and the strategies of the rival companies, competitive success and profit prospects. So these many analyses are required to be made when it comes to industry analysis. So here the most important point is industry and competitive analysis aim at developing an insight into several issues, analyzing which builds an understanding of a firm's surrounding environment and collectively forms the basis for matching its strategy to changing industry conditions. So I need to get an insight about various issues. So this requires not just in terms of finance, but also in terms of number of buyers, sellers, suppliers, the various complexity that it has. So when I get an insight about the industry, this various issues happening in the industry, it will help me build an understanding of the surrounding environment in which I am functioning. I also belong to this particular industry now. So just not my business experiments I need to make, but I also need to know about the industry in which I am functioning. And that is forming the basis for matching my strategy to the changing industry conditions. And we saw something called as change, the driving force, or we say as triggers of change. Industry change, the trend in the industry keeps changing. All industries are characterized by trends and new developments. The product design changes, the making changes, the quality changes. Okay, so triggers of change. For example, now no more desktop, it's all laptops, and even we have much higher end versions. Like the life cycle of human life cycle, even products undergo such changes. So there is maximum growth at one point of time. Suddenly it reaches the peak stage and then it declines. So every product undergoes these changes. So the human life cycle stages are also linked to the overall industry growth rate. Now what is the driving force which is causing such change? Driving forces for the triggers of change. So industry and competitive conditions change because the forces are in motion that creates incentives or opportunities or puts upon a pressure, the threat for the change. The most dominant force is called as the driving force because this driving force is having a very, very big influence on the industry structure. Now, how do I find out what force has caused this change? Analyzing the driving force has just two steps. Find out what is that driving force and then assess its impact that it will have on the industry. So what is the driving force and whether it is impacting, how far it is impacting or how much is it impacting my industry in which I am functioning. So that is most important. Some of the examples for driving forces are business has gone global. There's so much of innovation that we make in a product. Even when it comes to selling, distribution, marketing, there is a lot of innovation. Cost, efficiency are all better. There are major entry exits for major firms. Okay, internet, technological upgradation, e-commerce opportunities, threats, all these are the major changes. These are the major examples for driving force. These we can say it as major examples of driving force that causes the change, that triggers the change in an industry. Next, the competitive strategy or dynamics that we adopt here is we refer as strategic group mapping. Group, we know, some collection of something similar. A strategic group, and we need to map it. This is all about. So a group is something definitely is similar. So people of same kind form a group. People of same age or same cadre form a group. So similarly, a strategic group is people of same in terms of certain in terms of two variables, we group them. We group them and then we identify the strongest and the weakest companies from this grouping. So that we refer as strategic group mapping. So it consists of definitely rival firms. So who am I and who are my competitors we have identified. So I am going to analyze these competitors. So strategic group consists of those rival firms with similar competitive approaches and positions in the market. So the position that Lenovo or Xiaomi is occupying is totally different from the position which Apple has been occupying. Yes, so we are going to identify the competitors in the same field. Definitely it is within the same field. For example, if it is mobiles and technology, I can only take the relevant competitors. I cannot bring in any other industry. So find out a group which consists of those rival firms and you're going to map them in a chart. So when I map them in a chart, what is the step that I need to follow? So these industries will definitely, these companies in the industry will definitely have some two important key variables. Okay, identify the competitive characteristic that differentiates these firms in the industry. Now take a two variable map, x, y axis, yes, and those two variables which you have identified. For example, in this we have seen prices. So price performance is one variable and on the other axis we have the various models that they have offered. So models versus prices. So these are the features by way of which these brands are or these firms are distinct and unique. So these two variables are analyzed, price versus models. Now I have identified the two key variables. I have taken two axes and I have placed them. Now plot the firms on the two variable map using pair of these differentiating characteristics. Now assign the firms that fall in about the same strategy. So prices when it comes to Apple is definitely high, but the models are low. Certain other mobiles will have models may be many, but models may be many and the prices may also be many. And certain models and certain mobiles the models will be few, prices will also be few. So there could be such clusters. So group them, draw circles around each strategic group, making the circles proportional to the size of the group's respective size. So smaller circle, very few such companies exist in that mapping. Bigger cycles, many brands exist in that particular mapping. So when you do this, you get an idea about the industry in which you are performing. So this strategic group mapping is an important exercise, is an important competitive analysis that many firms adopt in order to know who are their competitors, where do they stand, what is their distinguishing factor and so on. Now KSF, the key success factors for any organization, any profitable successful organization will have a key fact for which they have proven to be successful. Jio, we all know it is successful for its low cost. Yes, and many people are able to buy. Those who even cannot afford basic necessities are able to get this network at a very cheap price. So that has been their key success reason for that has been the key factor for their success. So knowing the KSF, these are the key elements that affect the ability of a firm or industry to prosper in the market. They form the rule whether a company will be financially or competitively successful. Some of the other examples that we can say as for KSF are business outcome, the competitive capabilities, core competitions in which they are competing on a core base on their core products, internal external resources, strategy in production or the strategy they have adopted in marketing, and so on. So there are many reasons why a firm has been proved to be successful. So this is also important to be analyzed. And how do I identify these KSFs? So find out why customers prefer this brand or this firm, or why customers prefer you. What are the points that you can change? What qualities according to them is very crucial, or you find is very crucial and you cannot give up on it? Or what competitive capabilities does a seller need to have to be competitively successful? And what does it take for the seller to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage? So when I'm finding out or identifying the key successful factors, I need to find out why customer prefer, what qualities are very critical, what capabilities do I have, and what is that step I'm going to take to achieve the competitive advantage. So key success factors considered vital for any analysis. Core competence. The core competence, the reason why you have been surviving, the reason for your success. The core competencies are capabilities that serve as a source of competitive advantage for a firm over its rivals. I may be serving a number of products, or I may be providing a number of service, but my core competency may be in one particular thing and the reason for it. So competency is generally defined as the combination of skills and techniques, and it's not just individual skills or techniques, a combination of them. Therefore, core competencies cannot be built on one capability or single technological know-how. It has to be integration of many resources. So I've used all the manpower, I've put in greater amount of fund, I have brought about many external resources, I have reframed it. So many factors go in for making a product or making a particular area, business, a core competent. For example, we very well know the reason for preferring Walmart, D-Mart, Big Bazaar kind of companies are because of the lower prices. They're able to secure the cost, their cost is also low, and they have their own branding. So we have a choice to choose from. We can also buy their own products, or we can buy brands of other companies. They have their own labels, and the system is also it is computerized. It's no more manual systems, proper ordering systems. You can also teleshop, you can also do online shopping. So such core competency is prevalent in supermarkets is mainly due to these many factors. So why I have been successful, what has been the reason for me to be successful, could be any of these. Core competency is definitely an inside-out approach. Okay, so we refer core competency process as an inside-out approach. It's unique. Competitors are not doing it. Unusual products, or it is fundamental to generate the sales. It is difficult for the competitors to copy. So you're faster than your competitor. It is not possible to copy the technology that Apple has taken in its products. So strategically they are doing strategically well. So definitely core competency is an inside out approach. It is because of the uniqueness that you offer, or it may be very important to generate greater revenue. I may be, as I said, I may be in the production of many products, but this product is my core product. It is giving me more revenue because of its lower cost or uniqueness, or others cannot copy my technology so easily. So many reasons are attributed to core competent or core competency, and it has been well defined as it is major core competencies are identified in three main areas: competitor differentiation, customer value, and application to other markets. When I want to shine or bring about a product as my core competency, what do I have to follow? The value which you have created for the customers, the various opportunities you have made use of, the internal resources that you have made use of, and you're giving a product which is of value to the customers. And rare. This should be a unique, rare product, not easily available in the market. And also, once you have produced them, it is not easily possible for the others to copy your product. Very costly or very difficult to imitate your product. And there is no substitute, non-substitutable. So these capabilities that do not have strategic equivalents are called as non-substitutable products. So Apple has no substitutes. So these are the various ways in which you can build your core competencies. Next important strategy is a value chain analysis. Here we are seeing business. When we analyze the various aspects in my company organization, we need to consider the various aspects to it. We cannot see business as just men, machines, material, money. Yes, internal resources are definitely these four: your manpower, your technology, your material, your financial funding, and so on. But we cannot just look at them as just a collection of things. They are of actually no value unless they are deployed into activities or organized into systems which ensure that these products or services are produced, which is going to give my final consumer a greater value. I may be having huge manpower, I may be having good products, material, money, highly funded, but then I need to combine them into other activities, the support activities. Only then, when I give a proper combination of this plus the other support activities, my final consumer will have a value for the product that he has received. So conducting a value chain analysis generally help you examine whether your business outputs generate a greater value than the cost of creating them. So your cost leadership, you are the cost leader here. So you can ensure that you are producing the best possible profitable product. So the generating greater revenue when compared to the cost you have incurred for them. On the other hand, you are creating a product which is much differentiated, which is much unique. Okay, it gains competitive advantage by performing strategically important activities which are less expensively or better than its competitors. Likewise, differentiation. You are bringing about a differentiable feature. For example, Nestle brought about this 2 minutes noodles which was more easy to prepare and be cooked. Okay, so this is a differentiation that you are creating. So value chain analysis model requires your entire activities to be split into primary and support activities. So when I say material, they are to be combined with their primary activities. What are the primary activities? Production, research, operations, marketing, services. So these primary activities plus the support activities that I get from management, technology, procurement will give me a better margin. Yes, so value chain analysis gives you the importance of primary plus support activities. So just not look at the major the internal resources as a collection of things or people, but combine it with your primary activities like logistics, operation. See how much each can contribute to these support activities that will enable you to get a better margin or better profit margin. So these are the few of the ways that we have seen in part 1 of chapter 2, competitive dynamics. Thank you.